One of my colleagues sent me a picture once, which was a bunch of different cats going in different directions, and someone trying to herd them all in the same direction. I think that's a really common joke amongst project managers that you're the cat herder.
Just give a quick intro about yourself.
My name is Lina. I work at an ed tech startup based in San Francisco. We offer online courses to help people change careers. Outside of work and sort of geeking out on different educational offerings, I really enjoy swimming, trying my hand at cooking, and really enjoying the outdoors. It's really awesome to get to live in the Bay Area when the weather is awesome pretty much all year round.
What does a project manager do?
I'd say at the highest level, the way that I like to describe it is a project manager takes ideas to reality. And so usually my intake or the first meeting that I'll have with a stakeholder will be this, discussion of an idea or a vision. It's sometimes a course launch. Maybe it'll be an offsite. Maybe it'll be database migration, which is going to rock the operations team's world. But the idea is like, we want to do this. How do we do it? And that's really where the project manager comes into play. It's a matter of breaking down a vision or a goal into actionable steps, but then also really getting stakeholder buy-in to execute against that timeline. One part that often gets overlooked in the role of a project manager, which I've found really exciting and fulfilling, is being the person that plugs in all the gaps that are part of a project. So you're the person that will jump in and say, I noticed your team is understaffed and you might need help with this particular task. In my case, oftentimes it's been hiring request for a subject matter expert. Like, let me assist with that. So you jump in, you'll plug that gap, and you allow teams to stay on track.
What kind of a project manager would you say you are?
So if you think about project management, I think most people will think about the project manager with the iron fist that's going to say, these are the deadlines, deal with it, and like, I'll see you on the other side. But I don't think that that's necessarily effective in actually getting people to do what you want them to. Project managers lead without authority, and it's a very unique skill set in that way, and one that I think can be very powerful in a lot of different settings. So I would say that my style is really leaning into the fact that you're leading without authority. And so instead of mandating that things are done in a certain time period or they're done in a certain way, really making suggestions, getting buy-in. And if there is not buy-in, asking why and really trying to work within those parameters. Because ultimately, if you're going to be working with a team of, 5 to 10, however many it is, for a period of several months, you want that to be a positive experience. Because there are going to be times when you need to have a little bit of flex, push, and pull. And all of those things only really come when people are truly invested and they would truly feel like they are working with you and not because you've told them to, which is not motivating for anybody.
What does your typical day look like? And maybe what does your typical week also look like?
I'm really glad you asked the week question because no 2 days look the same. But interestingly, week on week, I find myself doing the same thing by day. But I'll start off by the like how my days will usually start. It's a lot of responding to messages that have come in overnight. We have a team that is based in a different time zone, and that's our tech team. And so oftentimes, like I'll like notice conversations that have happened there that might be impacting an upcoming launch. Usually, there will be messages from coworkers who work late or early, flagging fires or reasons they like might be running into difficulty. So it's a triage really for the first like few hours of my day, and then after that, I'll usually set aside a chunk of focus time to focus on what that day's tasks will be. So Mondays, it'll typically be a lot of planning. I'll go project by project. If you're working on more than one, it's really important to be able to have a clear sense of what's going on across the board and just plan my week out. Tuesdays, I'll do weekly check-ins. For every project I am on, I typically like to have weekly meetings with all of the stakeholders to really get a sense of like any red flags that they might have. So my Tuesday work block is actually a lot of meetings with a lot of different people. Wednesdays are typically reserved for putting out fires from yesterday, which is all of those cross-functional meetings. So if you're having a meeting with like 10 people on a cross-functional project, at least 3 of them will be raising some sort of flag on a resource they need, a problem they're having. Thursday is a focus day. So if I know that long-term for a project to succeed, there is something that I need to be doing that is not a one-off task, but is something that I materially need to own. In some cases, it's been negotiating a partnership with a particular tool. In other cases, it's been actually reviewing certain documents that need to be finalized because we don't have that review internally available right now. It's really just focus time where like I am working on. And Fridays I'll typically treat as very reflective days, looking back on what went well, what didn't go well across projects for me as a project manager, and having one-on-ones that are really meta so that I can reorient for next week. So again, it's the triage, that work block, and the end of the day is miscellaneous. There's always a quick chat, a quick question that comes in. So, as you can probably tell between the daily and the weekly, it's a very diverse day you have as a project manager.
How do you prioritize like so many things that are happening at once?
Lists, lists, lists. That is probably the best that I can say. One of the things that I do daily, if not like hourly, is look at my list of priorities and acknowledge that the job that I have is one where these priorities are going to be shifting really rapidly. Right now, I'm working on three, actually four completely different projects. And so, what I'll do is upfront, I'll plan out my week, as I told you, on Mondays, but then every day I'll have a list of projects and then the priorities for that day for that project, and I'll reshuffle them as necessary. And when I get to the end of the day, I take stock and will then potentially revise for the next day. And so it's a lot of just actively looking at what my priorities are and asking myself, is this still true? Because things change very, very quickly.
What do you enjoy about your job and what do you not so enjoy?
I think it's really cool to get to build relationships with basically every single team at the company. It is probably the most cross functional role at a company. At Springboard, for example, the project manager is the person that will work cross functionally across any teams and any number of teams necessary to deliver a project. And then aside from that, I think it's really nice to be able to maintain the 30,000-foot view, if that makes sense, because you are accountable for, idea to reality. You are overseeing the bigger picture. And so you have a really unique perspective in conversations. You have a really unique perspective on the status of the project. For the stuff that's maybe not as fun or like maybe not as enjoyable, I will say that having so much diversity in your work is like oftentimes frustrating, that no 2 days look the same. So you really can't ever fully plan ahead. You can't really fully ever plan your time out of office because you just don't know what's going to come up. And as a result of that, also sometimes the hours can be very long because you are that connective tissue. And so if the only time that your stakeholders are available is 7 a.m., then you will be up at 7 a.m. to do that. The most challenging part recently for me has been removing yourself from just project timelines and asking the more tough question of if time weren't an objective, would this still be the right decision to take? Because I think as a project manager, it's very easy to index on just meeting deadlines. And I think that if you get too wed to that, then you adopt a style of thinking that in many ways can be limiting.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing about project management.
Yeah, of course. And I hope this is helpful.